Hi, my name's Kora. This is for my final project in our class, Cold 233. The person that I chose was one of my recent chefs. His name is Trent Pavlik, and he's from Morton, Illinois. I met him when I was 17 and worked at a tapas restaurant with him for about 8 months, and he showed me everything that I needed to know before coming to school. After I worked with him at the tapas restaurant, about 6 months later, he called me to help him open the restaurant that he is now the chef at, Maxine's on Main, Morton, Illinois. The restaurant focuses on seasonality. It was a really amazing place. I had a lot of opportunities there. I couldn't imagine interviewing anyone else. I thought that since we had this project, I decided that it was going to be him, for the sole being that I know him, I know how he feels about everything. It wasn't like interviewing a random chef and, not being able to personally engage how they are as a person. Some of the questions that I asked him were, what is the need for human resources in the food industry? What is the best form of communication, leadership, motivation with employees? How do you resolve conflict? How do you deal with stress? What are your coping mechanisms? How do you come to decisions with outside opinions or just your own? What do you look for in hiring an employee? What is your interviewing style? Do you believe in stages or mystery baskets when deciding how to hire a cook? What are your challenges and joys of management? What was your perspective when you first joined the culinary industry compared to now? How hard is it to find dedicated cooks, especially in central Illinois? How do you go about training and motivating staff, dealing with issues, challenges, and lessons learned? What has worked well for you so far in your career? What was an important early mistake or misunderstanding in your career? Your personal philosophy of managing people, your personal philosophy of food, what brought you into this career, what started your obsession with food? Why do you cook? If you could see yourself doing anything other than cooking, what would it be and why? Why is seasonality your passion? What do you believe makes the ideal line cook and the ideal chef? Again, Trent Pavlik, he is the executive chef on Maxine's on Main. It's in Morton, Illinois. It's a small town outside of Peoria. I don't know if any of you know where that's from, but it's like 3 hours down south from Chicago. He's been at this location for 2 years this October, and he's been the chef for 1 year, so pretty much right after I left. He's been in the industry for only 6 years. He's a graduate of Kendall College. When he was in Chicago, he did various stages. He worked at Cortino, actually, to put him through school. While interviewing Trent, I knew that many of his responses would be. He is a very honest man who agrees with integrity and knowledge of surroundings. He works for an honest day's pay and never takes shortcuts to get the right outcome. He thrives on training people to become better, encourages others, soak in everything they can about their passion. I started off the interview by asking Trent what is the need for human resources in the food industry. He informed me that it is important to have a good team behind you, also people you can trust to maintain quality and honor in all stages of food prep and service make for an ideal working environment. Trust is the biggest thing he looks for when finding employees to work for his restaurant. From there, we progressed into talking about the best forms of communication, leadership, and motivation with staff. He believes in being very open with the team he leads. He has also found that encouragement really helps to motivate his staff. He also noted that it is also very important to make sure your staff is doing the right thing. If you see an employee doing something wrong, be sure to nip it in the bud and not let the problem linger. I further asked him how he would resolve with conflict in this situation. He proceeded to use straightforward communication to resolve any conflict. Instead of using anger and frustration, he uses a sense of understanding when resolving a conflict. For instance, when I was working at Maxine's on Main, I ran out of a component during service. Instead of yelling at me for not making enough product, he simply stopped what he was doing and went to go make it for me. After work, he spoke with me about how essential it was to be completely prepped for service. He never once belittled me, he just made me understand the importance of being set up. It is stressful enough being a line cook at a restaurant. I can't imagine how stressful it is being in charge of the whole scheme and not just one station. When I asked Trent how he deals with it, he joked around and said a lot of booze. But in reality, he uses meditation before work and after work, and also lifts weights during his break time to help separate him from work. One big thing he always taught me was to believe in leaving work at work and home at home. In many restaurants, chefs are in charge of everything and call the shots without anyone else's opinions. Trent works differently and enjoys getting opinions from all of his staff in order to create and maintain a relaxed atmosphere. When hiring employees, Trent says he mainly looks for trust, organization, cleanliness, and people that possess a sense of urgency. He further commented that people can be taught how to cook. However, I found that the criteria I've mentioned come with many a way people were raised and learned how to work. Trent is very much into people who have a great work ethic. If an employee doesn't want to be at work, he simply tells them to go home and not come back. In his opinion, there isn't a reason to be somewhere you don't want to be. When we spoke about how he prefers to interview employees, he responded with being straightforward. He says that it isn't necessarily intimidating, but he wants people to know he isn't messing around. He also says that in the industry it simply is ran on the concept of quality and time management. You are constantly fighting the clock. He also stated that stages are super helpful when it comes to the hiring process. You can pretty much tell in the first 30 minutes of a new employee if they have a clue what they are doing in the kitchen or not. When asking Trent about his challenges working as an executive chef in this industry, he simply stated that it's a lot of work, especially maintaining food and labor costs while keeping his team in line. Paperwork, invoices, and cost control are one of his least favorite things to deal with on a daily basis. He also informed me that it took a lot of practice to perfect these for this particular restaurant. On the reverse side of the questions, his main joy in his position is being able to have the opportunity to be creative with food. He also takes pride in instilling good work ethic into baby cooks and watching them progress into dirty, nasty line cooks. A dirty, nasty line cook is what he described as a smart line cook who works smarter and not harder. I further continued our interview by asking him, what was your perspective when you first joined the culinary industry compared to now? He explained that he really had no idea how much work it was going to be a true culinarian. Success may have came fast, but he worked very hard to get it. He also pointed out that he loves food and works, so the majority of the time he is happy that he became a chef. Maxion, Maine is located in central Illinois, outside of Peoria, Illinois. The town has about 20,000 people, so naturally there isn't a huge pool of line cooks looking for a job. He informed me that it's very hard to find hard-working, passionate, dedicated cooks. Trent said, it seems like all the young cooks think that they're the bee's knees, when all in reality they suck. I think it's very important for young cooks to work in the industry for a few years before they decide they really want to be chefs. They don't understand how hard work it is. After finding an employee that fits the criteria, I asked him how he goes about training and motivating the staff for his specific kitchen. He responded with, I have a very structured and organized kitchen. I show my staff once how I am to do things, and then they should be able to do it themselves. I accept questions without complaint, but my staff knows what I want and they do not like to disappoint me. Standardized recipes and procedures make for a much better training environment. This specific way of learning works best with my learning style as well. If I know they expect me to learn and remember instantly, I will. If they give me an option to forget, chances are I will, countless times because I am not taking the chef seriously. Trent also commented that the organization and following procedures works best for him when it comes to running a kitchen staff. He also believes in having facts to back up his reasoning for why things should be done the way he asks his line cooks to perform them. That way it allows for no question for the job being performed under his high standard. As I stated earlier, Trent has only been in the industry for a total of 6 years, so he himself is still pretty green to the industry. I asked him what his early mistakes and misunderstandings were in the beginning. He informed that his importance of communication between his staff and himself. He used to keep his mouth shut to avoid confrontation, but now takes it full on in order to address the situation properly. With that being said, he believes that honesty is the best policy when it comes to his philosophy of managing employees. I ended our conversation with taking a look at his personal views about food and why he is a leader in the hospitality industry. His personal policy of food is maintaining consistency. What brought him into this career is simply his love of food. What started his obsession with his food was his grandma at a very early age. He was cooking with her from the age of 4. If he would be doing anything other than cook, he would brew beer for a living. He commented that brewing beer is a lot like cooking and expresses precision and consistency. When I asked him why seasonality is his passion, he responded, fresh ingredients make for very tasty dishes. I love knowing that the onion I'm about to caramelize will swallow the dirt 2 days ago and just wash the dirt off with my bare hands and water. It's a sense of knowing where your food came from that it grew to make you happy. This statement is why I idolize Trent, and I want nothing other to make him proud and grow up to be a dirty, nasty line cook like him. He also believes that organization, cleanliness, passion, and a sense of urgency make the ideal line cook. Yet, patience, pride, knowledge, honor, and the ability to teach make the best chefs. So all in all, that was my project, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.